Hey guys, it's Travis with Academy Endeavors. We are really excited because we get a lot of questions on social media every day. And what we've decided to do is record our answers so that you can listen to 5, 6, 7 questions at a time. And I'll be answering them live so we can put them out on YouTube and out on social media. And you guys can benefit from these frequently asked questions that we see all the time. Before I do that, it's March, it's 2025. I just want to share an exciting announcement with you all. It's that time of year when clients are finding out if they get accepted. It's super exciting. And so I thought, just hot off the press, we would just share kind of what it's like to work at Academy Endeavors in the spring every year. It's a lot of fun. And I'm just going to do that by sharing a story. So last night, I'm preparing for one of our pro program meetings where we're going to have 4 individuals in a small group, and I'm going to be teaching, and we're going to be going back and forth, and we're going over their essays. We're writing our Academy essays already. We're going over all the assignments in their workbook. Okay, so I'm preparing, and I get an email about 13 minutes before the meeting starts that says, Travis, I'm so glad you emailed me, because I had emailed this client earlier that day. I just got a call from the academy that I was accepted. This individual probably wouldn't mind sharing his name because he has a very common name. His name's Andrew. And Andrew is from the Northeast and part of the country. And he is just beside himself in this email. So I'm in my suit and tie. I'm getting ready to present and be on camera with these 4 clients that are high school juniors that want to eventually be in his shoes because he's a senior. And I was like, you know what? I got to stop. I got to call this young man right now. It's probably the best day of his life. And so I stop, I dial his number, I call him, and I think he's probably shocked that I'm calling him on the spot. And so he lets it go to voicemail. I do a voicemail, and then I get a call back. So I'm hang up the voicemail. I call him and I said, hey man, it's Travis. And he's like, and he's just, you can tell he's choked up. I was like, you did it, man. And he's like, I can't believe it. I'm beside myself right now. And then his dad was with him. His dad chimes in. His dad's like, I feel like I'm more excited and I have more emotions about my son getting in than I ever did about me getting into any school. And we just went back and forth about the roller coaster ride that it is to get into an academy. Super fun conversation. And those are the good days. Those are the best days at Academy Endeavors, when all the work pays off. So I just love it. I love my job, and I love the families that we get to work with. Why we're recording this is so that we can blast out to as many people as possible for free and share any of the coaching knowledge that we picked up over the last 5 years and just give it away and just say, we want more people to get their dream. So let's do this. So I'm going to read, I have 7 questions, and we're just going to go through this. My whole goal is to give you the truth. All right, just give you the truth from my gut, based on experience, based on a lot of the success we've had. Our success rate, again, is just killing it this year. We're at 76% and counting for pro clients getting into the academy, and it's by far our biggest amount of clients we've ever had. And so we've always been concerned at Academy Endeavors, look, as we grow, is our success rate going to falter? You know, are we still going to be able to provide the great service? And so far this year, we've done it again. And so it's just awesome. I'm really happy for the family. So now let's get into these questions. All right. Question 1 is, I just finished my sophomore year of high school. How can I tell if I'm in a good spot? So that's a long answer. There's a lot to talk about here. So I'm going to start by just sharing a PowerPoint slide. Right now, you're a sophomore. The person asking is a sophomore. And this is an underclass timeline, okay? The academy applications open the summer going into your senior year, as do the nomination applications, as do ROTC applications. We put it all on one slide so you can see how all these things line up. They're all a little bit different, okay? You see sophomore semester 1, semester 2, and then the summer going into your junior year. And you are right here in the timeline, okay? So if you're in a good spot, that means 1, you're taking AP and honors classes and you're getting A's in them, and you're ideally in the top 10%, top 5% of your class. Second means you've jumped in as a freshman and joined as a member of 2 clubs or 2 community organizations, and you've joined 2 or more sports. Why is that important to join as a freshman or to join as a sophomore if you haven't done that yet? Because the end goal is to get 4 or more significant leadership positions. Okay? If you back up from there, you're going to have to get on the leadership path. And the only way to do that is to get involved. Okay? Because you can't just show up as a junior or senior and say, hey, I'd like to be president of your club, even though I've never attended. All right? That doesn't work. Okay? It also doesn't work that if end game is you want to have a 3.8 or higher unweighted GPA in advanced classes with course rigor, taking AP honors, physics, chemistry, calculus. You can't just show up and say, yeah, I'd like to be an AP Calc 2, even though I'm in geometry as a junior. Doesn't work, right? So we got to be on the right track. So how do you know if you're on the right track? You're taking the right classes. You're involved. This is at a very basic level, by the way. We can get way more detailed, and we do, but you have to start high before you can get detailed. And these questions, I will only have time to get some of them to be at a high level. So you're involved, you're taking the right classes, and you're sliding into SAT and ACT prep, okay? Why is that important? Because most guidance counselors throughout the country, all right, are going to tell you to take your SAT or ACT your senior year, if they do at all, because most colleges still waive that requirement. If your goal is to end game be at a 1400 or higher or 32 or higher in the SAT, then you need to take it multiple times. In order to do that, you need to get in prep. Otherwise, you're going to eventually hit a wall and plateau. And the goal is to be at that super score of 1400 above or 32 or above by the time the Academy Summer Seminar applications open, so that when you put your name in the hat for a summer seminar, you have a competitive score that you're proud of. And the only way to do that is to take it multiple times, combine your super score, and voila, you hopefully are there. And if you don't, you've planned ahead. So now you have the summer going into your senior year and your second semester junior year to get that score up. If we plan ahead, we leave buffer time at the end when the inevitable bump in the road happens. That's how you know you're in somewhat of a good spot. And we could still go into much more detail. Question number 2, what's an effective way to work out with the intention of passing the CFA, candidate fitness assessment, when you previously failed? My answer entirely depends upon which events you failed. All right. In the notes, we're going to give you a link to our Academy Endeavors workout plan that includes CFA tips for every event. We also will include in the notes our videos, how to improve your CFA, which I believe is #1 on the internet right now in CFA videos. Okay. And that goes into a tremendous amount of detail where I do an entire mock CFA and spend time on every event. And we've broken that up into reels as well. So you can watch all of that. All right. I'm going to fly through that because I want you to look at that material first. That will give you all of the answers you need. Okay. Number 3, at what point or what percentage of a completed application will an academy send my info to DODMERB? Okay. So DODMERB is the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board. It's the board that reviews every applicant to an ROTC scholarship and a service academy application and determines whether you are medically qualified or disqualified. If you are medically qualified, you are eligible to get a scholarship and an academy appointment. If you are disqualified, then you need a waiver. You have to have a waiver in order to get an academy appointment or an ROTC scholarship. And if you don't get a medical waiver, you are disqualified from getting an appointment or a scholarship, no matter how good your SAT score is, GPA is, leadership is. Okay. So a lot is riding on that medical piece. The answer is about 3/4 of your application. Once you complete about 75 to 80% of your application, your social security number and information goes from the academy and is sent to DODMERB, and it triggers DODMERB to email you and say, hey, you need to set up your portal. DODMERB is a separate portal from your academy application. You need to set up your portal and you need to start going through the steps of getting medically qualified. In fact, some applications, and I'll show you one of them right now, it's a screenshot, okay, of the Air Force Academy application, where it actually says in this new application, it actually shows okay, this hashtag and says, if you complete this, all of the items that have this hashtag, all right, then once you complete all those, then DODMERB can start. Okay. So it actually tells you which of the 80% you need to complete. Very helpful in that new update to USAFA's application. All right. Other applications aren't as kind. You have to get through as much of it as you can, if not all of it, before DODMERB is going to be triggered. That's why we come up with a 75 to 80%. Question 4, how can I make up for a bad GPA in my applications? Well, it depends how bad it is. The average unweighted GPA to get into an academy is about a 3.85. That means you're getting mostly A's and a couple of B's. If you've gotten D's and F's and C, I mean, even if it was freshman year, it's still on your high school transcript. If it's on your high school transcript, that is all going to be seen by the academies, and it's fair game to look at. So in some ways, if it's really bad, there is no way to overcome it. You're simply in a very competitive situation where you're going against young people that have never got a B in their life, and you're probably not going to get accepted. However, if it's bad in your eyes, but bad means I got 1 C, but then I did much better after that, and that's considered bad. So once again, it all depends on your definition. Then the best way to overcome that is either twofold. One, let's say you got a C in biology, either retaking the class or getting A's in every other science class, advanced, ideally, that you take. So proving the track record over time. Hopefully it was a poor performance early on in high school, which will afford you that opportunity to show progress. The second way, and the most effective way, is to get a better SAT or ACT score than you otherwise would have put in the effort to get. Because academics, the academic portion of your application, is the foundation of your competitiveness. Okay, and I'm going to show you a slide here. The academy deems competitiveness based on these 3 buckets: academics, leadership, and selection panel. Leadership is the foundation. It's worth 50 to 60, even 70% of your competitive score, your candidate score. Depends on the academy that we're talking about. It breaks into your SAT and your transcript. Okay. So in that bucket, the only way to make that bucket stronger, if transcript is lacking, is to make your SAT score or ACT score better if transcript is worse, because it should ideally provide credibility that you can withstand the academic rigor at an academy by doing well on a standardized test. Question number 5, is doing a varsity sport or doing JROTC better? My answer, both are better. Doing one or the other is not going to be good enough. You need both, and here's why. We're talking about leadership here. In the leadership aspect of your candidate score, it breaks down to athletics and extracurricular activities. It's your activity list. It's your resume broken up into athletics or sports and your non-athletics. Okay? JROTC is an extracurricular activity. A sport is obviously athletics. You're going to need both because the academy looks at both. A follow-up question of this: do you have to have sports in order to get into the academy? It's not mandatory, but I can tell you your athletic activity scores is going to significantly suffer. And in a very competitive situation, which you most likely are, you most likely won't get in. Now, follow-up question to that: have we had clients at Academy Endeavors who had a big gap in sports and still got in? Yes, they were excellent in every other one of these factors. They were excellent. The more significant the ding in one area, the more excellent you need to be in every single other area. Balancing your time is going to be important. How do you manage your time well so that if a sport directly conflicts with JROTC, can you do a club sport that doesn't meet during that same time? Or can you do the sport and then do an extracurricular activity like Civil Air Patrol that is not meeting on campus, and you can do that instead of JROTC or Sea Cadets, something like that. You can't get around it in a very competitive and complex situation like you're in trying to get into academy. More is going to be better most often, more and higher quality. You need quality and quantity. You can't have one or the other. You're gonna have to have both. So now let's go to question 6. What volunteering hours stand out among others, and why? I get this question a lot. Volunteer hours alone do not impress, period. It does not differentiate you from any other high school student in the country. So many high school students, I mean, thousands, probably millions in the country, check a box, go to a 5K where they're promoting some sort of fundraiser for cancer awareness, and they walk in the 5K and they're done. They get the t-shirt. It doesn't do anything to differentiate you. So what does do something is volunteer hours where you have a formal leadership position. If you're the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, officer of the club that does the NHS hours and you're leading your peers to organize this event, that does something. If you're in student council or you're in Civil Air Patrol or you're in JROTC and you're doing, or Sea Cadets, and you're doing these volunteer hours, that matters. Get involved as a freshman or a sophomore, get on that leadership path, and by junior or senior, lead the thing. Those volunteer hours stand out. And that was the question. What volunteer hours stand out among others and why? There is no magical number of hours or community service that will differentiate you and stand out, because simply it is too prevalent across the country just to do hours. You must do more than that. And the last one, is the CFA required to compete for an LOA? Wow, a lot of acronyms there. All right, the CFA, the Candidate Fitness Assessment. Is it required to complete in order to get an LOA, a letter of assurance? Letter of assurance, let's define it. Letter of assurance is an early acceptance letter from the academy contingent upon getting a nomination and getting medically cleared. Very, very valuable piece of paper that shows up in your portal, only to those who turn in their application early and only to those cream of the crop applicants in the fall. In the fall is when you're going to get or not get an LOA, because it's before the nomination is secured. So is a CFA required to compete for an LOA? And the answer is yes. All right. There are 5 must-haves in order to compete for an LOA. The academy has to have your transcript. They have to have an SAT or ACT score, and a really damn good one. They have to have your extracurricular activity list submitted. So the academies call it different things. West Point calls it your candidate activities record, your CAR. USAFA and Naval Academy call it extracurricular activities. It's your extracurricular activities section. All right, that has to be submitted. 4th, you have to have done your interview with your liaison officer, okay? And a liaison officer has a different name for each of the academies. West Point is called the Field Force Rep. Naval Academy is called your BGO, or your Blue and Gold Officer. Air Force Academy is called your ALO, or your Admissions Liaison Officer. Okay, they all have the same role. They are a volunteer who are the eyes and ears on the ground in the local area that is trained by Academy Admissions to evaluate applicants and submit an interview score back to the academy so that the academy can verify character, instead of just sitting in Annapolis and reading a piece of paper, or sitting at the Hudson River and reading a piece of paper. They need to be able to validate this character, and they do so by relying on those eyes and ears on the ground, those liaison officers. That's 4th. You need your CFA. That's 5th. That was an answer to your question. That needs to be done and passed. Ideally, not just passed, but actually maxed out. Get above the average or max it out. And not for West Point, but for USAFA and Naval Academy, you also need your personal statements or your essays submitted. All right, so those are the 6 things that the academy must have to give you an LOA. Notice I did not say nomination. Notice I did not say DODMERB clearance. Why? Because inherent in the LOA definition, you don't need a DODMERB clearance yet, and you don't need a nomination in order to get an LOA. LOA is contingent upon those things. And if you're missing a recommender, then most cases what we've seen is the academy will still give you an LOA even if you're missing a recommendation, which is nice to know, because you want to do your best to get those things in, be as greened up as you can. But we have seen LOAs be given out without all the recommendations being given. Those are the 7 questions that we tackled for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to keep pumping these videos out. We want you guys to get the knowledge that you need to be successful. And so we're going to keep attacking these frequently asked questions, because we get them all the time, and you guys are going through it for the first time, and we've gone through it hundreds of times with a bunch of families every year, and it's growing. We are definitely growing. Not only subscribe, but check out our website to schedule a free one-on-one call with Academy Endeavors so that we can help you clarify where you're at now, what you need to do to be competitive, and if interested, sign up for one of our coaching packages so we can take you all the way to acceptance. Thanks.